In progress.
Okay. Rose McGowan had a good relationship with Marilyn Manson. Uh, he didn't make her the one and only. And now, when they broke up, she turned vicious and is betraying them and backing up the false allegations made by Rachel Wood. And I'm not really that interested in McGowan and Manson themselves, but they're the perfect example of actual male female dynamics. This is the standard modus operandi. The divorce courts are filled with men who found out the hard way, where they'll admit it to it or not. You know, once the breakup happens, it's not they don't become friendly. The woman completely hates the guy. That happens more than anything else, and she's betraying him now. Now this is Colonel Kurtz, and she makes a great breakdown of this, and we will get to what she has to say about Rose McGowan.
Came out with their allegations. Rose McGowan came out and said in a statement that she supports them, that she's disgusted by the allegations against Manson, and that she's very proud of these women for coming forward. Well, yes, that is true, but that's not the entire truth. All right. Along with that statement that Rose McGowan released, she also put out a video that people don't remember as much. And one of the things that she said in this brief video was that she had never suffered abuse from Manson when they were together. She
Okay, so she's just an absolute liar. She's the bold-faced liar. Thanks.
clearly states it. So, in fact, I think that Rose McGowan is quite an asset for the idea that Marilyn Manson is innocent. And a number of people.
She's also an asset for men at large because then they can turn around and say this Me Too hashtag is a criminal act towards men. And men, if they had any self-respect, would be working together to have that struck down.
Don't realize that she wrote an entire chapter about Marilyn Manson in this book, Brave, her memoir, in which she talks about the many men, including men that she's dated, and then also Harvey Weinstein and some others who have abused her. Guess which guy in this comes out looking better than anybody else? Guess who is one of the few men in this that she talks about as a real sweetheart and a very healthy relationship that she was in? Marilyn Manson.
Okay, so she's a bold-faced liar about this. Why should I believe that Harvey Weinstein or these other guys abused her? Why? Kurtz, what do you actually still believe Weinstein is guilty of anything beyond the casting couch? I don't. And it's just you. All these guys, you'll even mention it yourself in one of your videos. You know that these people who backed Johnny Depp believed Marilyn Manson's guilt, and so here you are. You don't believe Marilyn Manson. You don't believe Johnny Depp, but you believe Harvey Weinstein. Why? Did you actually look at the case and do your deep dives? Right. Now look at this. Here's McGowan lovingly looking at Marilyn Manson. This looks like an abusive relationship. And again, I'm going to point this out. What happened? She does not see Manson as a human being. She sees him as a man of high status, and she wanted to connect herself. He had higher status than her. She was a second-rate actress. Her movie career was mediocre at best, and she wanted to increase her status by lumping herself onto him. And he didn't pony up, and so now she's going to punish him for it. And remember, everyone, the reason I'm making this video is to say Rose McGowan is not an individual. She's representative of what goes on with men and women. Her relationship with Manson was going to break up no matter what, because either she was going to gain the status she wanted from him, and once she equaled his status or greater, she was going to dump him, because women don't hang with guys who are beneath them. They see beneath them, right? And Of course, since that didn't happen, the other happened, where they broke up, and now she's going to punish him for not giving her the status. This woman said, Manson, I want you to up my career. And he didn't do that. Now he must be punished. She never saw Manson as a human being. And guess what? I have to tell you guys, the average woman does not see the average guy as a human being. We are means to an end.
Now, I want to read this in a minute, but I just want to note something. So, this week I published on my Twitter, I published something that I got from the website Marilyn Manson Uncanceled. It was an old story, Instagram story, that Rose McGowan put out, and she tagged Evan Rachel Wood.
Notice, look at that. Do not, she's got a book bragging up all the positive things about the relationship. It says, do not use my book Brave, where I wrote about good times with you, as a defense. I will allow no one to use me. This is bullshit. She's not being used. Rose McGowan is not being used. And the real motivation is that she wanted to attack him. That's what her real motivation is.
In it. And in this Instagram story, Rose McGowan provided a text, a screenshot of a text that she sent to Marilyn Manson in 2020, when these stories about him were coming out, even though he hadn't been named by Evan Rachel Wood or the others yet. And in this message to Manson, Rose McGowan says, do not use the things that I said about you in my book, or the fact that we had good times together, in your defense, right? Basically saying, I don't want anyone to use me. I want to stay out of this.
No, what she's really saying is, I don't want you to be able to defend yourself. That's what she's saying, Kurtz, and hopefully you will say that. That's what it is. She wants to get Manson, and she doesn't want him to be able to defend himself. She doesn't want to be pointed out to the obvious liar she is. And she can be extrapolated to all these hashtag women, every one of them, including the ones that went after Weinstein.
This. Of course, Rose didn't stay out of it, right? She issued a statement supporting the accusers. So I think that that is a really interesting aspect of this. And I want...
That's a good way of describing it. Interesting. I would say it's vile. It's really vile. That's what she is.
To look at this book, because she mentioned it in her text to Manson. She was evidently concerned that he would talk about this book and would try to use what she said to defend himself. And I think it's very unfortunate that Rose McGowan cannot stand up for someone who did treat her very well and who she said helped to patch.
No, it's not unfortunate. It's vile that someone who was treated so well by a man turned on him and wants to destroy him just because she didn't get to use him. That's how you express this, Colonel.
Her up after her assault by Harvey Weinstein. But anyway.
She wasn't assaulted by him. She's bold-faced lying about Manson, and you're proving it. So there's no reason to believe anything they say about Weinstein. None.
Let's look at it and talk about it. So I'm going to read some of this to you. I'm not going to read the entire chapter. I'm only going to read what's relevant, but I'm not going to leave anything important out. And I think it's going to give you a very good sense of things. Now, couple of objections before I get into this. Some people say that it is irrelevant if Rose McGowan had only positive experiences with Marilyn Manson, because people can be different to different people. In other words, the idea is that he could have been this wonderful gentleman and caring boyfriend and fiance to Rose McGowan for 3.5 years, but also be this horrible abusive monster to other women. Well,
yeah, I don't believe in that either. I believe that's hogwash. That's right.
I just don't believe that someone can be that different. And, you know, some people have said, well, maybe he treated Rose McGowan differently because she was a big star. Well, she wasn't a big star. She was an up-and-coming starlet. She had been in Scream. She was in Jawbreaker, a film.
That's right. Jawbreaker was only so good. She ceilinged out her career. She was a B-lister at best. And that's why she wanted to attach herself to an A-lister like Marilyn Manson and become an A-lister herself. And he didn't pony up. It didn't work out. So, of course, now she's turning on him.
film that didn't make a huge splash. Marilyn Manson was a huge megastar. He was selling out stadiums. He had, like 350,000 people, at times coming to see him.
That's right, Colonel. That's right. Thanks for backing up everything I say. That women go for status. That's why she was attracted to Marilyn Manson. She didn't like him as a human being. She didn't know him as a human being. And she doesn't care about his humanity. She is going to destroy him because he was a tool to increase her status, and he was a tool that didn't uh, complete his function.
And so, to me, the idea that he would put on this fake self for 3.5 years, even after they got engaged, right? And they're living together.
Yeah, like the average guy knows, that women rewrite history. One thing I'd say about guys, even if they have a vicious breakup, a year from afterwards, a guy will admit, yeah, we had some great times. But for the woman, the whole history gets rewritten. He was bad throughout the whole thing, which makes you question is why, hey, how come you stayed, in this case, for 3.5 years with someone who's abusive, hated you? And then she'll say, oh, she'll make excuses. So, I mean, the male-female dynamic is one of usury. The man gets used and then discarded.
Together, and they're going on tour, and they're together all this time, but he's got this fake mask on for 3.5 years. No, I don't believe that. So I think that what we get in here is an accurate depiction of who Marilyn Manson was. All right.
She's one of those imperfect victims. And imperfect victim translates to one of these man haters who aren't smart enough to cover their tracks. That's all it means.
So let's look at this. And by the way, she was also with him when he was using drugs. She mentioned later, sometime later, several years later, in an interview about why they broke up, and she alluded to the cocaine problem. So this is not a situation of where he was nice and sober with her, but then he started doing drugs, and then he got out of control and became this monster. That's not the case.
He didn't care that he was doing drugs. Obviously. She was there for his status, period.
All right. And also, I just want to say, she talks about lots of other exes in this and lots of other, male friends and men in her background and her family and all of that. And she accuses lots of different men of being abusive, including Robert Rodriguez, the director that she dated and got engaged to.
So I don't believe anything she says about this. Also, what was abusive? We know that these women's idea of abuse is different from what abuse really is, the actual definition is.
For a while. And she talks about how Rodriguez seemed like this wonderful guy for the first part of the relationship.
I don't need to hear the lies.
She says, the waiter said to me, my friend Brian has a crush on you. Oh, that's nice. He went on, I'm from Ohio. We knew each other back home. Oh, okay, that's nice. He said, it's Marilyn Manson. And I said, oh, that's the ugly guy. He was taken aback. He said, yes, but he has a huge crush on you.
Wow. Okay, so that's what she thought of Marilyn Manson, the ugly guy. She was so in love with this guy.
I said, okay, well, that's nice. Then one night, shortly after that, and back in LA.
And by the way, guys, I wanted to show you that because this is what women do with guys, right? This is the respect they have for men, right? They want men to treat them with kid gloves, but she just saw him as the ugly guy.
I was on my way to a screening of the seminal indie movie Gummo. I was late and I had to bang on the screening room doors to be let in. I knocked again, and finally this guy, who looked like a cross between an 18th century dandy and Ichabod Crane, opened the door. I looked right at him, recognized him as Marilyn Manson. I smiled and said, hey, I hear you have a crush on me. I didn't think he was ugly in person. I thought he was incredibly unique.
Yeah, she saw his high status and he was interested, and now she's in love. This is so pathetically typical.
The first year we were together, Manson patched me back together after the assault. I didn't tell him what had happened for the first few months, but finally he asked a girlfriend of mine.
Wow. So this guy patched her together. This is very typical, right? Uh, the guy is a shoulder to cry on. He's the tampon, as they describe them. And then this is what he gets for all his care and love, right? And for one thing, she wasn't assaulted anyway. She wasn't assaulted by Weinstein. She's just a woman who's using some guy. And Marilyn Manson, guess what? This also kills the alpha beta dichotomy. He was he's the top guy with all the status that all the girls wanted to be with because he has high status, and he got the beautiful girl, and she turns on him. uh I'm going to end the video here. I don't think there's any reason to go on other than to prove exactly what I've been saying. Men are the romantics. They're the ones who think that true love exists and the woman is there for them because they love them. And this is just more proof that the women just see men as a means to an end. Women don't even like men because if they did, they wouldn't turn on them like this. They wouldn't do these 180s. She's the one who put on a mask for 3.5 years. This is a gullible, naive young man who does no female nature, and now he's suffering from it. And the saddest part about all this, when this is all done and he survives this, Manson, he'll just get a new Mrs. She Loves Me Forever and say, this one is different from the last one. That's typical male behavior, too, by the way, everyone. Anyway, we'll end it here.